Hi guys, just a quick thank you to everybody who dropped into the live streams yesterday. It was pretty cool, especially when you get Eric O and Keith of New Level Auto dropping in. I'm always honored to have these guys join me. And although there wasn't much car talk going on, there was quite a bit of comic relief. So thank you guys for dropping in. Eric, get better. I wasn't aware that you were sick, so yeah, all the best, and hopefully the meds are not going to affect you too much. As for this video, it's an update or in continuation. I'm going to label it as part 2 to the first part, which I'm going to have to relabel. The one that said cooling system, don't freak out, I'll be labeling that as part 1. This will be part 2. The video will explain itself, hopefully. I might add some more commentary at the end. But I have had a few people over the last little while with cooling system overheating issues. And they were telling me that the hoses were getting warm, or the lower hose. But there is a, what's the word that people use, a caveat? Sometimes that doesn't really apply because I'm talking too much here. I'm giving too much away. Let's let the video talk for itself, and then I'll continue. Hey guys, 2003 or 4 Jetta with the BEW TDI engine, running hot. Fans don't come on. I just realized that there's maybe a bit of information that would be useful to you guys that I might not have mentioned or not elaborated on. Anyways, I keep saying to check the lower radiator hose to see if it gets warm. Right here, okay, so the thermostat flange is here. That's the thermostat under there. That's the flange. Here's the hose. What's happening in this case here is the hose, or this section here, the flange and the hose right here get hot. So when people check their radiator hoses to see if they get hot, they hold here and it's hot, and then they assume the thermostat is opening. If you follow the hose along further, it's cold here. If I stick my fingers here where the radiator is completely cold. The upper part of the radiator, or the upper hose, is nice and hot. Right here, it's cold. So in my last video about the cooling system, I mentioned that coolant travels across the radiator on the top, and then it returns on the lower half of the radiator to the lower radiator hose, and you can see the radiator fan switch is right down here. So this guy is not turning the fans on or triggering the fans because the radiator is not getting hot. So the next time you check your radiator hose, don't check right next to the flange here, okay? Check farther down, or if you feel lucky, stick your fingers between the radiator fan and check the actual core. You've seen me do this on a running engine. If you know what to look for in terms of temperature, and you keep an eye on temperature via your scan tool, there's no reason why you can't stick your finger in here to monitor temperature. In one of my last videos, when it got close, when I verified that this lower hose was getting warm, after that I no longer stuck my fingers in there, because it wasn't too much longer after that the fans came on. So anyways, long story short, a bunch of you guys, this sounds familiar to me. You guys are all saying that your lower radiator hose is getting warm, and it was still overheating. Well, this may very well be a similar case such as you had, where the heat transfer from the block to the flange to the hose took place, but no actual circulation of coolant. Okay, hopefully that was enough. Thanks for watching. So as you can see in the video, the hose, the lower hose was getting hot where the thermostat flange was, and that was due to heat transfer from the block into the flange, into the hose. But the remaining hose all the way to the radiator was cold. So don't just grab the lower hose close to the engine, because you can have heat transfer there just from the fact that the engine block is hot and it's transferring some heat, but which makes you think that there is circulation, coolant is getting hot, but it's not. So best thing to do is to use your fingers, stick it in the radiator between the fans. Obviously, think ahead when you're going to poke in there. If at all, maybe do it with the engine off, just to be on the safe side. But even then, depending on the make, model, and engine, etc., fans can come on even with the ignition off. So keep that in mind. But best way to figure out if you have circulation is to manually test the core along the radiator, along the length of the radiator. If the radiator is getting hot, you have circulation, the water pump is pumping. If it's not getting hot, either the thermostat is closed or stuck closed, hasn't opened yet, or the water pump isn't pumping. And what's my test to check the water pump for flow? Come on, you guys know it. Yeah, 2 tests actually. One of them is coolant recirculating back into the coolant reservoir. All you have to do is remove the top of the reservoir bottle, the cap of the reservoir, and then check for flow for coolant squirting back in through the little return hose. And the other verification that the water pump is pumping is heat inside the car. Turn the heater inside the car to a maximum hot, turn the blower on maximum airspeed, and monitor heat. If heat goes away, in terms of if it starts hot and then it gets cold, you have no coolant flow. The engine is designed, or the system is designed, so that once the engine is started cold, thermostat is closed, coolant circulates inside the engine, inside the heater core, and that coolant transfers heat. So the thermostat takes the 2 systems, the radiator and the engine, keeps them separate so that initially the engine warms up quicker, less fluid needs to be heated up. So the fluid inside the engine circulates into the heater core, and that's how you get your heat quickly. If there's no heat inside the heater core, you've got no circulation. So those are my 2 tests for the thermostat and for water pump operation. Long story short, I hope this added video was of use and cleared things up further. I'm sure there's other things that need clarification, but it looks like I'm not going anywhere on YouTube in terms of I'll still be here. If you guys have questions, as always, just ask. If I think of something in the future, I'll definitely make another video to add, maybe as part 3. Thanks for watching.